Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Grant, the reason we've played that song today is because we have got a special guest on the phone who we are going to introduce in a moment. His name is James Alexander Gibbs, and he is part of a troupe called Frankie's Guys, which are I'll call it a performing group, which we'll talk more about in a moment with James. And they're going to be in Geelong on Friday night. Here is the great man himself, James. Good morning and welcome to Two Blokes Chatting.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Very great pleasure to have you, mate. Now, there's so many questions that we can start with, but let's kick off with, you're obviously a singer. Where did it all start for you?
So I've been singing for as long as I remember, since I was about 14.
Geez, you must be tired.
It's been a long shot. I started in the school choir. My sister dragged me along one day, and it turned out I could sing.
Oh, fair enough. That's good. That's a good start.
Yeah. I kept going, went and then found a love for musical theatre, went to drama college, and then was lucky enough to land my first job in the West End at 21, and went on from then.
That's fantastic. So the West End's got such a great history. Did you get to see many shows there before you got involved?
Yeah, my first memory was my parents taking me to see Cats at in the original setting in the Round back years and years ago.
Yeah, because I must confess I'm not a great musical theatre buff, but I have been to the West End. I saw We Will Rock You there, I think at the Dominion, I'm going to say.
That was my first show. That was my first West End show, was We Will Rock You.
Oh, there you go. I thought I recognised your voice. That would have been 2008, I reckon.
You know what? We would have been very close to seeing each other, that's for certain.
And you didn't stop and have a beer with me afterwards. I'm very disappointed in you, James. We started off so well together, and here we are.
Well, Geelong, we'll catch up then.
It sounds like a plan. Hey, listen, Frankie Valli, the obvious question is, why do you do a tribute show, if you like? Why wouldn't you go and do a Cats or a We Will Rock? Although We Will Rock You was Queen, wasn't it? What's the appeal of doing a tribute to someone like Frankie Valli?
Good question. First of all, the songs are timeless, you know. When a lot of people, you say, Frankie Valli, you know the songs, and no one knows them. But then you say you do know them, and you sing them, and they're shocked at how many songs Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons sang. So many covers of their songs have been famous, but you forget the originals. So first of all, because the songs are just incredible and great to sing. And with the emergence of the show Jersey Boys, the slickness of the dancing, the jackets, and the whole show has such a great aura about it. Everyone wants to sort of recreate that style that was created with Jersey Boys.
But I've got a photo of you here, and you're indeed a handsome young man. You would have come along after Frankie Valli. I mean, Grant and I are old enough to remember Frankie Valli being in the charts. The appeal of his music, you're right, it is timeless, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I sing the Frankie Valli stuff, and I've been singing Frankie Valli now since about 2017, 2016, and I still love singing it every night. It's such a pleasure and such a privilege to sing these songs to everyone around the world. I love it, I really do.
Well, I was lucky enough to see Jersey Boys a couple of times. James, how's the difference between that production and what you guys are going to do next Friday at Costa Hall?
So, Jersey Boys the musical is the story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Frankie's Guys, which we are performing around the country, is a celebration of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So we essentially are singing the songs, we are dancing the songs, but we're also getting the audience involved, getting the audience singing and dancing, whereas in the show you sit there and watch it and it's all very serious, whereas ours is a lot of fun. There's a lot of audience interaction, and yeah, we have a lot of fun with the audience, and everyone's singing and dancing. So
more like a concert, if you will, rather than a story in a show.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, Frankie's Guys, how many guys are involved in doing it? Is it it's a touring production, obviously? Because I was just looking at your tour schedule. That's a lot of work, James.
No, tell me about it. Yeah, a lot of travel, but a fantastic way to see Australia. So there's 4 of us in the show. There's 4 singers each night, and then we have 4 members in the band, Plus, we have our technical team touring with us. I think there's 12 of us altogether traveling the country, but 4 of us in the show every night.
So what happens if someone does a vocal hamstring? How do you cover for someone who isn't available?
We have an unsung hero in the background waiting to step in who knows all of our tracks.
It's not Lee, is it, that I just spoke to on the phone?
No.
Because he sounds like he has a good voice.
Well, he is learning it backstage. He has threatened to go on at some point.
Well, tell us about the history of Frankie's Boys. How did it start? And,
Frankie's Guys.
Frankie's Guys, I should say. Yeah, well, Frankie's Guys. How did it start? And when did you get involved in it?
So Frankie's Guys now has been touring for nearly 10 years around the UK and Ireland. We have been abroad a few times, but never as far as Australia. But we started in a resort called Potters in Norfolk on the east coast of England. Started in a holiday park there, and I sort of outgrew the holiday park with the demand to see the show, and it's been touring ever since.
And typically, what sort of stadium size? I mean, we all know Costa Hall, which is part of the Geelong Arts Centre here in Geelong. Is that that's sort of what 2,000, 2,500 seats? Is that kind of the size of venue you generally do?
We do in England. We do as little as small as that will have us. To be honest,
right.
We also do a lot of corporate wear. We do a lot of weddings. We do a lot of parties and things like that. But as well, we do the big theatres. We do festivals. We do small intimate theatres as well. We're very lucky and blessed with the variety of work we get.
Now, have you had any contact with anybody in the Frankie Valley Jersey Boys organisation to see what they think of your show?
No, I'm not sure we have had any of them come in to see the show. I was lucky enough to be in Jersey Boys myself last year and in 2017. So they're all very supportive of our work. Now,
Frankie's still with us, isn't he?
He is, and he's still touring. He's
still
touring to this day.
The story of the life, you see it obviously in Jersey Boys and the movie that came out, they went through some horrendous money problems, didn't they?
Absolutely, yeah. They were involved with the mob, I believe.
Now, we're on radio. Allegedly. When you're on radio, you always have to throw allegedly when you say things like that. Otherwise, people will go, oh, hang on, we'll have our lawyers onto it. No, they won't. You must feel pretty bad, though, Frankie Valley going out and just ripping off your songs, and doing a tribute show to Frankie's Guys.
Who? Sorry.
No, Frankie Valley. He's going out and doing tribute shows for Frankie's Guys. Is that how it works?
Yeah, these days. I mean, we're still in his shadow, of course.
So he would be mid-80s, late 80s, something like that.
Yeah. I think he's late 80s now. Yeah.
Wow. And I guess the songs are not. I mean, there's energy brought to them, but they're not demanding. Like you can't imagine him doing AC/DC or anything like that. You wouldn't have thought.
No, he has his own specific style, which is so iconic to him and the group.
And allows him, presumably, to continue going. A bit like the sad passing of Tony Bennett during the week. He wasn't putting a lot of effort in, he wasn't running around the stage too much. And I guess you can do that when you're in your late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, he's done the hard graft. He's allowed his time to relax. And
Now, you mentioned earlier, James, that you sort of discovered that you could sing. How do you prepare for this show? Because obviously there's a lot of dancing. So did you do any lessons, or how did you get prepared to do this show? Because it's be quite choreographed, I would imagine.
Yeah, so we've been doing the show for a long time, but we also always have a lot of rehearsals to keep the show clean and tight. But on a typical night of the show, we'll do a vocal warm-up, maybe 15, 20 minutes, plus we'll do some physical warm-ups, we'll go over some harmonies, we'll go over some lines for the show, and then yeah, showtime comes along and it all goes off.
I know, clearly not, because you've been doing it for 10 years, but you don't get to a stage where you go, oh, not this again, going through the same songs, the same routines, or do you have an opportunity to mix it up a bit between performances?
So essentially the show will always stay the same, but one of the great things with our job and our industry is no two performances are the same, because the audiences are different, the reactions from the audience is different. Things happen, live theatre is live theatre.
Yeah.
Anything can happen at a moment's notice and you have to deal with it, and it makes it different and exciting. And as I said, performing in Tasmania is different to performing in Geelong. It'll be two different audiences, and it makes it,
But the reaction to the music is obviously still the same, though, James. It does resonate with a lot of people, doesn't it? Like you said, a lot of people may not know it's Frankie Valli, but they know Big Girls Don't Cry, Sherry, Walk Like a Man. I mean, there's just hundreds of them.
Absolutely. That's what I say to people. I say, if you don't think you know Frankie Valli, you do know him. Come and see the show. I guarantee you're going to know more songs than you think you will.
Now, do you include Grease in the show?
Grease is in the show.
Excellent. Because that was one of my first early memories of Frankie Valli, hearing him do the main song to Grease.
And that was released in 78, and some of the early stuff was 62, 63, something like that. So it stretches over a long period of time, doesn't it?
It's incredible, really. I think that they were still releasing songs late 70s, early 80s, I believe. So we cover their whole catalogue.
And I think if you listen to the early catalogue, and we're talking the Sherrys and the Dawns and that sort of lot, that whole falsetto component to it dropped away a little towards the late 60s, early 70s?
Yeah, well, Frankie, he was so famous for that sound, that high voice, but I guess over the years they changed it up a bit to try and be a bit different and move with the times, as all the great bands had to, and that's why they're still so famous.
So you're the one who's testing out their falsetto?
I am indeed.
That must be hard work on your voice.
Absolutely, yeah. It takes a lot of practice and taking care of myself to maintain that quality of sound.
Now, James, have you been to Australia before?
Never. No, this is my first time. So getting to tour it is the best way, really.
So I've just got your itinerary down here, and you're going to some amazing places. Are you actually going to get a chance to sample some of them, or with the demands of the show, it's a bit hard?
No, absolutely. So now the show's up and running. We normally get into the theatre around 5 o'clock. So we will, today I'm looking forward to going and exploring a part of Hobart, which we're in, and when we get to Geelong, we'll have the daytimes to go around and check out all the local bits and pieces. It's
a pity you're not here today, because we've got our local football team playing, and a lot of my UK friends are fascinated by the AFL teams, and pity you're not here for that today.
Is it?
Although he wouldn't be able to shout too much because his voice would be gone.
That's right.
Well, I'm looking at Thursday of next week. You're at South Morang. You won't, with all the care and love in the world to the good folks of South Morang, I'm not sure that you'll spend much of Thursday getting out and seeing the sights of South Morang.
Oh, really?
It's an outer suburb of Melbourne, and nice part of the world, but you're not going to be going and doing the designer shops, for example.
Oh, that's okay. Nature is as good as designer shops.
Where should we recommend James and the boys go for a nice stroll on the day on Friday when they're here?
Well, of course, they would head to the waterfront, I would think, would be the obvious spot. Geelong is on Corio Bay, which is a waterway, obviously. And when you're standing on the waterfront looking north, you can see the city of Melbourne. It's about 70 k's away, so it's not a bad part of the world.
What if they're catching the Spirit from Tasmania back over here?
Could do. We've got a boat that goes between the north end of Tasmania and the south end of the mainland, you understand, called the Spirit of Tasmania, and it comes into Geelong. How long have you been in Australia this time round?
We have been here. We're just coming up to the end of our second week here. We've been to New South Wales, we've been to South Australia, and now we find ourselves in Tasmania. Excellent.
Well, we've got folks listening, because we're so close to Tasmania geographically. It's only a sort of a 45-minute flight across if you come across on a plane. And so people who are listening, you're in Hobart tonight at Rest Point, the casino complex, and in Launceston tomorrow at 6 p.m.
We are indeed.
At the Princess Theatre.
That's right.
So we were talking about some of the songs and the falsetto component to it. Do you have a favourite? I'll call it era of Frankie Valli. The early stuff, some of the later stuff. What's your favourites?
Well, I think some of the early stuff is really which is what they're so famous for. That iconic falsetto sound of Sherry. Big Girls Don't Cry, Walk Like a Man. They are amazing, and they really set the tone for the group. But if you want my favourite song, you can't look past Can't Take My Eyes Off You.
Which is, ironically, the song we played leading into it completely by fluke.
It's the best one.
Now, there were some songs that were brought out by the Four Seasons. There were some by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. There were some by Frankie Valli. Was there a reason for that, or was it just a bit of marketing?
I think, I'm not sure 100%, but I believe the group went in their separate ways, and as all sort of groups, some of them fancied themselves as solo artists, and Frankie went on his own way and had great success as a solo artist. He released My Eyes Adored You as a solo artist, which gave him yet another #1 single.
And do you include those? Well, you do with Grease, so presumably the song you just mentioned is completely.
My Eyes Adored You.
My Eyes Adored You. You include that in the show as well?
Oh yes, that's there. That's a lovely moment at the end of the show.
Oh, hello. There's a bit of a hint.
There's a hint.
Now, folks, we are talking to James Alexander Gibbs, and I noticed that's how you are presented on your website, and we've got a competition going for 2 free tickets to see this show. The first person to text us on 04999 radio, that's 0499 972 346, with James's middle name, will get those 2 tickets to come and see the show at Costa Hall on Friday night this week.
Brilliant, yeah. I'm lucky person who gets to come to the show. Maybe we'll even get him up on stage.
Well, I've seen the ticket sales are quite strong. So if you do want to go and you're not one of the lucky people that win the tickets, get on to it fast, because the reviews I've been reading and the bits I saw on Facebook looks like just an incredible show.
It's been so well received so far. We've had such fantastic audiences. We feel very lucky to be here.
And just out of interest, you said you get to the theatre about 5 o'clock. The show's at 7:30, that sort of thing. Presumably the show goes till, let's say, 10. How long does it take you to wind down afterwards and actually fall asleep?
Yeah, you tell me about it. It's hard to come down after all that adrenaline, but we slowly pack up. Obviously, because we're moving every night, we have to pack up, make sure we have everything, and by the time we're at the theatre, it's about 11 o'clock, back to the hotel.
Next weekend, I noticed they're playing Geelong Friday night. Saturday, they're up to the lovely city of Ballarat. You'll enjoy seeing that, James. And then the next day, they're playing in Melbourne at 2 o'clock afternoon show. That's a busy time.
Sure. Yeah.
And you'll enjoy being at the Melbourne. I assume that's at Hamer Hall. That's a beautiful venue.
Yeah, Hamer Hall on Sunday the 6th.
And how's this for ironic? Today would have been the 107th birthday of Rupert Hamer, after whom the hall is named.
Oh, wow.
Now, you could, if you were at the Hamer Hall, you could actually have used that, but, never mind. Let's run through some dates so that folk who are listening elsewhere can hear. By the way, we don't forget, if you want to be the first one through with James's, that is to say James Alexander Gibbs's middle name, we will hear from you on 04999 radio, 0499 972 346 to go and see a couple of free tickets to go and see Frankie's guys at Costa Hall next Friday night. But if you are listening elsewhere, Hobart tonight, Launceston at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Then they've got a couple of days off to Bendigo at the Capitol on Wednesday evening. South Morang, as we mentioned, Thursday evening. Geelong Friday evening, that's at Costa Hall for the locals. Saturday the 5th of August at Ballarat at the Wendouree Centre for Performing Arts. Melbourne, as Grant suggested, Sunday afternoon next week. 2 o'clock, that's great, because if you've got, older folk who remember the music, they can get along there in the afternoon. They're not out late. Then off to Canberra, Bunbury, Perth, Mandurah, Brisbane, Cleveland, and that's where the piece of paper runs out.
The last part of that is we finished the tour in the Gold Coast, Toowoomba, and we'll lastly Ipswich on Sunday the 20th of August.
Excellent. So, and then head back to the UK.
Back to the UK, yeah. We continue our UK tour after this.
Excellent. Well, James Alexander Gibbs, it's been great having a chat to you. We apologise for the state of mobile phones in Australia, and we will edit that, and I'll let Lee know about where people can re-listen to the interview if you want to share it and so forth. All power to you. Enjoy Hobart. We look forward to seeing you in Geelong very, very soon. And if people want to know more about the show, frankiesguys.com.au. There is a .com version which takes you to the sort of main site, but the .au is where you'll find the tickets, I believe.
That's correct. And if you want to see what we're getting up to in Australia, all our antics, when we're exploring, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and there's a lot of fun backstage bits on there that can keep track of what we're up to.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for joining us, James, and enjoy your time in Australia.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Go on, you, mate. All the best.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.